Okay, everyone. So before we go and start, I just want you to try to solve this issue from where we will be encountering this because I did some changes on the directory names of our pure PHP and echo print here just to have a little bit of consistency. I added lesson 6, lesson 7, lesson 8, and I want you to figure out how to solve that. We've been practicing how to work with href. I know this is a basic challenge for you. So try to solve the issue that we will be encountering if we did change those. Let me just refresh this. And if I go here, you would see now it's no longer working. And here it's also no longer working. So just pause the video first and then try to solve that issue by correcting the path that you have in the URL in our local host. And now, if you're done with that, let's try to just go and correct this. And just as I mentioned, this is just a very easy coding challenge. And that's just you identifying the path to your directory here and adding that lesson 6 and lesson 7, and this should now be allowing us to correct whatever is happening in our browser right now that is leading to the pure PHP not working. Just pull that back out and going back here, lesson 7, and we do have our lesson 7, and we do have our lesson 8, which is the paragraph or the topic that we tackled when it comes to escaping from HTML. Okay, so now I just created another folder here and I'm just going to copy paste this so that we'll have another HTML page that we'll be working on. And I'm just going to call this lesson 9 and I'm just going to say that this is going to be coding challenge intro strings. And let's go create that intro to strings.php. And if we go back to our browser, we should be able to go here and refresh and then see we have lesson 8, but we'll need to collect the text here. So let's just say lesson 9 intro to strings Now if I try to refresh this, this should now be giving us the correct label, and it's not found mainly because I think I made a mistake with lesson 9 coding challenge intro challenge 1, right? So we might have some coding challenges, so at least you'll be able to do some exercises on your own in trying to figure out how to solve those issues. And we do see that coding challenge 1 intro strings. So the issue that we encountered on the browser is mainly because of us not yet having this intro strings.php. And that's why I've already created it here, and I've already created a template markup for us, and this is going to be for PHP strings. And if we go back to our browser now and we refresh this, we should now have lesson 9 intro to strings to have an empty browser document, web document. So just pause the video and try to look into my code here so that you will be able to follow along. And again, these are the things that we were able to do. And now going back to the topic of PHP strings, there are some things that we should be aware of. So for data types such as strings in PHP, we have this strings or set of strings. Let's have here h1 strings or PHP strings. And these are basically, if I go put here paragraph and say that PHP can be surrounded by, or PHP strings can be surrounded by either single quotes or double quotation marks. Okay, so just have that in mind. And just as an example, let's have a PHP opening and closing tag here, and let's have echo hello double quotes, and in here let's have a print hello single quotes, and we should be able to print out both of this on the browser if I did not make any mistake. Now we should see that this is, and I think I did mistake here, hello. And if I wanted to again nest this in a, just to practice repetition, get our hands dirty here by really typing the code. And if I go back to the browser, we now have hello double quotes, hello single quotes. and we know that this is enclosed in double quotes and this one is enclosed in single quotes, and we use the echo statement here and here the print statement. So that's just a proof of concept that we can try to utilize the double quotes and single quotes. And there are some things that you should also know that is a relation, or let's say the difference between double quotes and single quotes in PHP. Double quotes will be processing special characters and single quotes does not. So what does that mean? So we can use double quotes or single quotes to tell the browser that we are using here some string data types. There are other data types as we go along, we'll be talking about them. But when it comes to double quoted string literals or for string PHP strings, we do have here a way for us to be using them for operations for special characters. Okay, so now just to show you here an example of the difference between utilizing the double quote and or double quoted string literals in PHP. Let's have a, just don't worry too much about the syntax. This is a variable declaration and we want to initialize this with a value, and I'm just going to put my name here, and let's have an echo statement that will be containing hello $x, and you would see that we're able to store, as I mentioned earlier, when we use double quotes, this will be allowing us to perform on special characters. So let's say we declare a variable and we initialize it with a value, and we will be able to return the value of that string or this string data type through this variable that we are echoing in the echo statement that we have written here. And if I try to refresh the browser, we should see that this is saying hello Rod, and we are able to echo out Rod, which is stored in a variable. Again, this is a variable that we can call this is name, or I can just say call this first name, no matter. So you will see I can have that written that way just to show you a proof of concept. Again, that will not be affecting anything, and if I add exclamation mark here, you will see it's also still working properly without us having any need to solve any errors. And right now I can also have here an echo for single quotes and hello, and if I try to access this $first name, which is a variable, we'll talk more about variables as we go along with our discussions and some other data types. And right now you would see it's not turning into blue, and it's indicating that this is going to be the one that will be printed out in our browser. And if I try to go back here, you would see now hello Rod, and if I just go make one of this as a paragraph, let's just have this here, and now let's go back to our browser and see what will happen. So we can see hello Rod, hello $first name. It's not able to go, the single quoted string literals or string literals will not be performing actions that will be returning a string that is stored in a variable. Okay, so just have that in mind. That's one of the things, or one of the difference between the use of double quotes and single quotes in the PHP language. There are other things that we can try to do with the PHP strings, like utilize some built-in methods and also modify the strings, and we can concatenate them, slice them, and even use escape characters. But perhaps we can try to first end the lesson here. We'll try to tackle some of those as we go along with our discussions with the use of the PHP strings. So that's it for this video. Thank you and see you on our next lessons.